I'm going to turn this over to Betsy Spethmann, who's going to take you through the 7 steps towards the REGGIE Awards. Betsy, all you.
Thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all keeping warm. It's 24 degrees below zero here in Minnesota, so I'm glad that we've got the ability to join each other electronically rather than having to go out in the cold. As an editor at Ad Age and Brand Week and Promo, I've had the pleasure of covering award-winning work for several years. And I've also spent a lot of time in the room with judges and have been a judge myself many times. And I'm hoping that I can share with you some of the insights on how judges evaluate your work and how you can make them happy with your REGGIE entries. Rob, can we go to the next slide?
Okay. How do I? Hang on. I'm having a bit of a technical issue here. Sorry. Hang on one second. Why do I have a frozen screen here. Just hang on one second.
Here, I've got it. Looks like I can make it go, Rob. Do you see the second slide?
Not yet. But you know what? Here, let's try this. I'm going to swing things over to you. Shared media will, yeah, we'll deal with that in a minute. Oops. I'm sorry, guys. We are going to, it's weird. Sorry about that. I am going to upload this file. Let me try this again. I think the file was still on yours.
So here it is, Rob. I've got it. We'll just keep moving. Does that sound all right?
Okay, there you go. And then we'll get the videos up in a second.
Okay, sounds good. In the meantime, I can tell you a little bit of background in my work with the REGGIEs and other award-winning work in the promotions industry. As an editor, I started following the REGGIes in 1990 when CBS and Kmart won the Super REGGIE with a watch-and-win sweepstakes called Get Ready Giveaway, with the very novel idea of having people watch TV and do something else at the same time. At that time, it was looking at print ads. Over the years, winners have run the gamut from big brands like Pepsi, which won in 1988 for its promotion Top Gun, and Pontiac, which won the Super REGGIE in 2006 for its work with The Apprentice, to underdogs like the St. Louis Cardinals, which won with a local radio station for an outdoor billboard campaign, and a business-to-business campaign from Packard Bell that got retail salespeople to pitch Packard Bell computers by sending the salespeople product information at home on CDs that were packaged in pizza and Chinese food carryout boxes. It's a really fun idea and a really obscure campaign that not many people in the industry saw until it won the Super REGGIE. And when Lee Rogan, whose agency B. Little, put the campaign together, when Lee got up to accept the Super REGGIE for his agency, everybody thought he was going to the men's room. Last year's Super REGGIE winner came from a Shakespeare theater that partnered with a museum for an event that ran in one market only, and it was electric. Leo Burnett and Arc Worldwide's campaign, called Will and George Come to Life, was the little engine that could. You never know what's going to win a Super REGGIE. For the past 5 years, it's been my privilege to help write the entries for 35 or so REGGIE winners, and I have judged hundreds of entries. I feel like I've learned a few things along the way, and so here are 7 things that might help you. Number 1, be choosy. If you're a fan of National Public Radio and you listen to Prairie Home Companion, you know how Garrison Keillor sums up his hometown in Minnesota, where the women are strong, the men are good-looking, and all the children are above average. Well, folks, I'm sorry to be the one to break it to you, but not all your children are above average. Not all your work deserves to win an award. Your chances of winning is not proportionate to the amount of time that you spent on the campaign. So what you need to do as you're choosing what to enter is to separate your ego from excellence, and you want to enter your best work. One of the things that may help is getting an impartial opinion that can help you be objective. And you may have many campaigns that are excellent, and I urge you to enter them all. But remember, too, also that really stellar work can fit in more than one category. The key ingredients to a good entry are results, plus strategy, plus story. First, you have to have results that, number one, you're proud of, and number two, that you can share. If you're an agency, you want to make sure that you get client approval for any data you include in your entry. You also want to give meaningful information. This is a campaign that Pedigree that was a Super Bowl adoption campaign that won the Super Reggie in 2010. The promotion piggybacked on Super Bowl ads with an online promotion that donated free meals to animal shelters and encouraged pet adoption. Pedigree and its agency Catapult gave data on site traffic and consumer interactions, plus they gave data on sales increases and incremental volume. It's really helpful to remember that judges crave tangible, measurable results. The more statistics you can give to show how your promotion impacted sales, the better. And other measures help too, like brand awareness and purchase intent and loyalty and increased distribution. But sales data is the holy grail. For strategy, you want to make sure that you share a genuine insight, an insight into the audience or the category or the culture. The 2011 Super Reggie winner was Walgreens' Arm Yourself. The campaign was based on the insight that mom puts her needs last, and if she sees her flu shot as something that she does for others, she will make it a priority. We'll see more about this campaign later. The third ingredient is to tell a compelling story. With 7-Eleven's Quickie Mart campaign, which won the Super Reggie in 2008, they did a tie-in with the Simpsons movie. 7-Eleven completely converted 12 of its stores and poked fun at itself for its partner, the studio that was putting out the Simpsons movie. At the time, Ad Age said, quote, 7-Eleven management is betting that by showing it gets the joke made in nearly every episode in the past 20 years, Simpsons and Quickie Mart fans will become 7-Eleven fans, end quote. And 7-Eleven CMO at the time, Doug Foster, said, when you're the industry leader, others may want to stereotype or poke fun at you. We get the joke, and we want to have a little fun with our customers and fans of The Simpsons. So my advice to you is to find some universal truths and some interesting details that judges will like so that you can tell a compelling story. And think of them as an audience. You want to make sure that you tell your story well. You want to write tight. And judges, like all people, love to be told a story. So put yourself in storytelling mode. One of the tricks about writing an entry for an awards competition is that it's tricky to find the right level of detail for judges who are industry professionals, who know marketing, but they may not know your brand's industry. It takes a real talent and it takes some time and attention to make sure that you get the right level of detail so that you bring the judges into your story. By the way, this campaign, 7-Eleven Quickie Mart, won 3 categories as well as the Super Reggie. It won in the local regional category, the multi-partner category, and the experiential category. Number 3, amazing execution. This is the winner for last year's Super Reggie. Will and George comes to life. And it put a big idea behind a tiny budget and then used every asset available to amplify the message. Will and George Come to Life was a small, non-traditional brand. It was the Chicago Shakespeare Theater, and the campaign ran in a single market and with only a $10,000 budget. But it had a big impact because it was an innovative idea that got flawless execution. Rob, if you've got that video, we can show how it came to life.
Actually, Betsy, we're having a little bit of issues with the video, so what we'll do is we'll have the videos available on the website afterwards with this presentation.
That sounds great. I think everybody will really like this one because this is Leo Burnett and ARC Worldwide, and they do such an excellent job telling the story through the videos, and this campaign is just an amazing piece of work, too. So you want to make sure that in your entries that you show how every piece of the campaign fits together seamlessly and how every piece contributes to the whole, all to the benefit of your ultimate brand message. Events or offers or PR or partners, you want to make sure that the idea is so crystallized that it carries through each element. And judges like it when you connect the dots for them, especially if you're telling a good story. So don't be afraid to point out connections between elements of the campaign that seem obvious to you. Next, results, 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 results. And when you think about results, you should be thinking about numbers, not words. You need to think about what measures matter to the brand manager. What are the things that make the brand manager happy? Because those are the things that will make the judges happy. That's what matters to judges. And at all costs, please avoid the phrase exceeded expectations. Nothing irks a judge more than that phrase, that you exceeded your expectations. I'm going to give you just a couple of examples. In 2006, Pontiac Solstice gave these results for their Super Reggie winning campaign. The first 1,000 vehicles sold out in 41 minutes, with more than 5,000 names added to the early order wait list during the course of the promotion. They also gave some statistics on web traffic. Web traffic was up 255% over normal traffic. They gave specific numbers on the number of visitors they had to the site, and also what the performance was across the span of the promotion, as well as the highest days of performance of the promotion. You can't give too many different measurements, and the more specific you can get, the better. Barks did a Super Reggie campaign that won in 1993, and some of the details that they gave were the fact that 98% of bottlers supported the promotion. Barks was the only root beer to increase its market share in the year. Sales growth achieved double-digit gains. Projected number of displays was 15,000, and the actual number of displays was 30,000. The estimated value for publicity topped $2.5 million. So those are some really specific numbers that show success on a couple of different measures for each of those campaigns. And I'm going to repeat this because I think it's really crucial. Judges crave tangible, measurable results. The more statistics that you can give to show how your promotion impacted sales, the better. Look at other measurements too: brand awareness, purchase intent, loyalty, increased distribution. But the closer you can get to showing sales results, the better. You want to make sure that you enter the right category. Find the most appropriate stage to tell your story. It puts your strategy in the best light. And don't forget, any category can win a Super Reggie. For example, the Packard Bell campaign that you can see on the left here was in the business-to-business category from a small boutique agency. And the American Express campaign, which was the Super Reggie winner in 2012, won in the category of Best Cause, Green, or CSR campaign. And your work might fit more than one category. So if you decide to enter multiple categories, you want to make sure that you tailor your entries to each category. And the Reggie entry form makes that easy with a section called Winning the Category, where they ask you to please explain how your campaign fits and relates to this specific category. That's really valuable context for judges as they're looking at why this campaign is performing superlatively in this particular category. You also want to make sure that you give some context. You want to give outsiders, people who aren't familiar with the work that's been near and dear to your heart all year. You want to give outsiders a brief sense of the brand's competitive environment and the general cultural context in which your campaign ran. Was it election season? Was this part of a music festival? Was there a connection to the Super Bowl? Things like that will be really valuable and may not be obvious at first blush, so you want to make sure you give some context. The campaign that I love that gives a great example of this was the winner in 1993. This is the campaign that Barks did, and it was called the Soviet Union Going Out of Business Sale. And it was actually triggered by the collapse of the Soviet government. The cultural context is what made the campaign itself work. And it's actually kind of a funny story. Rick Hill, who was the chief marketing officer for Barks at the time, wanted to do an Elvis promotion instead. He wanted to buy an old Cadillac that was once owned by Elvis and cut it up into little bits and then give away little bits of the Cadillac with proofs of purchase. And he wanted to call the campaign a hunk of burning lugs, but Elvis Presley's estate wanted $1 million in licensing fees, and he didn't have the budget. So Rick went with the USSR instead. He actually flew to Russia and bought 2 tons of stuff to use as premiums, little nesting dolls, Lenin Day pins, tank commander watches, and military medals. They bought complete Soviet Army uniforms to give away to bottlers for taking part in the promotion. In this case, the cultural context made the promotion work. And if you're interested in seeing the TV spot for this, you can find it on YouTube. You just want to search on Barks Soviet Stuff. And the entry for the 2012 winner, Amex's Small Business Saturday, also included some context as well, including details on a congressional resolution proclaiming Small Business Saturday, plus pictures and videos of one American shopping with his daughters on Small Business Saturday. We'll make sure that you guys have the video available when the deck is available after the presentation. This is a fun video too. It gives you a good sense of how to tell the story, the kind of context that shows your work as significant within our culture, because that really helps convince judges that not only is this a business success, but this is an important piece of what's happening in our world at large. And my last piece of advice to you is to consider investing in a video. If you make a video that summarizes your campaign, you can really bring your strategy to life. I'm sorry we can't show you this video right now. I will make sure it's available to you when Rob can make that up, can put that online. I love this video for Walgreens' Arm Yourself campaign because it's got all the right elements. It gives results, it has insight, it shows the strategy, and it does a lovely job of telling the story. When you get a chance, you'll want to watch that video so you can see how they've really done a wonderful job with that. And now if you guys have questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Betsy. That was a good overview. So as I mentioned at the top of the presentation, everyone, if you have questions, just indicate in the Q&A area that, hey, I've got a question, and we'll try and unmute you. If you're just listening through your computer speakers, you might need to just go ahead and type the question in. I'm happy to repeat it for the rest of the folks who are online. Mary Beth, you want to throw a couple things out?
Yeah, I can start with a couple of questions for you. What is the most common mistake you see entrants make when composing or submitting their campaigns?
You know, I think one of the things that I see most frequently is people not paying enough attention to the results. I think it's really important to, when you're deciding which campaigns you're going to enter in the competition, know from the beginning that you have good results, and then when you are writing your entry, you want to make sure that you state them clearly. The results is the biggest piece of it, especially for a competition like the REGGIE that is so focused on what makes the cash register ring. That continues to be a really important piece of how entries are evaluated, because that's the credibility of the REGGIE Award.
We have a question from Beth Janicek, who says, thanks for telling folks to avoid the exceeded expectations language. She wants to know, are there any other broken records that make judges cringe?
Oh, thanks, Beth. That's a great question. You know, personally, as a judge, I get really tired of seeing superlatives and hyperbole. So anything that has way too many adjectives, or if you have to say this was really important in the universe, it's much better if you can show that. So I would say that the broken records, or the things that I've seen repeated over and over again that make me as a judge kind of cringe a little bit is things that are hyperbolic, so way overblown, way too many adjectives or adverbs. This is sort of writing 101, but focus on your nouns and your verbs, because the more you can show action and that you are using the details of your campaign to tell the story, the better you're going to be able to tell it. I hope that helps.
Okay, I have another question for you. If you are not able to create a customized video, do you have any tips on other ways to stand out?
Yes, photos are an excellent way to show what your campaign was like in the marketplace. Screenshots, if what you've got has significant digital elements to it. Put your results in graphs. You can make your results be visual presentation as opposed to purely written presentation. Press clippings, if that was an important part of your goal, if impressions or PR or consumer awareness was an important part. So there are a lot of different kinds of visuals that you can use to show your story in addition to the way that you tell the story.
And Mary Beth, how many images and or videos can each entry upload?
Sure. There is the opportunity to upload 6 different pieces of artwork. Some people go above that by having it link off to a website with more things on it, or a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation, but the system itself accepts up to 6 different uploads of artwork.
That could be JPEGs or video.
Or any other file. All the accepted files are online in the FAQs if anybody has questions. And then, Betsy, I have another question for you. What is the #1 thing you would advise to avoid when entering a campaign?
I think it's really important that that you give your entries the attention that it deserves. A couple of things that I see, a couple mistakes that I have seen people make many times is to either delegate writing the entry to a junior staffer or waiting until the last minute. And I don't know if today, if this week, it should be considered the last minute since the early bird deadline is this Friday. But I think the #1 thing to avoid is not giving it the attention it deserves. You want to make sure that you pay the right amount of attention to it, and you give it to a senior level enough person who understands the strategy behind the promotion and isn't just listing the details of the execution. And Mary Beth, you mentioned something when we were talking just a minute ago about other ways, if you can't do a video, other ways that you can make your entry stand out, and you mentioned links to websites, to a microsite. Are you seeing more of those with entries? Because that feels like that's a really valuable resource that maybe people aren't using to their fullest yet.
Yeah, last year we had a lot of that. There's a lot of microsites that were associated with the campaigns that they linked off to. One warning with that, though, is if you do use a link to a microsite, please make sure that it's still live while the judging is going on and also afterwards, because we do post winners to our website, so it looks a little unfinished if the link doesn't go anywhere. So if you do use one, that's wonderful, but just make sure it stays live.
That's a really nice way to sort of a different kind of a canvas then, where you as the entrant can put together a combination of photos and other visuals so that the judges can see them all on one screen. I think that's a really great resource.
And I would just also, just thinking about the other discussion of not delegating the entry to a junior person, and really think in terms of a team of people who can work on this. The more eyes, the better at various levels throughout your company. It definitely requires, and we've seen with, winning campaigns, winning entries in the past, that there's a whole team that's put together to kind of like shepherd this thing through the process of being submitted. So, 1 or 2 people may not cut it. You may want to grab a couple other people that were involved in the campaign and or have experience either writing or judging these things to get involved with this before the deadline before it's like the night before the deadline.
Betsy, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. As I sort of go through, have the opportunity to go through so many different campaigns that have won over the decades, it's so interesting to me to see how the world has changed from, those first winners 20 years ago. We have there are so many more tools available, but the things that remain the same are pretty clear. A compelling strategy, really good results, and then a well-told story. It feels like those are the threads that make an entry a winning entry.
Okay, well, if there are no other questions, I just want to remind everyone that Friday is the early bird deadline, so that deadline ends at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so please get your entries in by Friday if you'd like to save $100 per entry on the entry fees. And then the final deadline is January 20th, also 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Mary Beth Atestia, and my number is 212-340-0092, and I'm all over the REGGIE website.
Say that again. So your
Sorry, it's 212-340-0092.
And with that, Betsy, thank you so much for taking time to walk us through this, and you all, good luck to all of you listening out there. If you have any other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to any of us here at BAA. Thanks very much.